Hi, I'm Simon Hartley.
And I'm Helen Martin.
Welcome back to Pep Talks. Helen, we're joined today by a very good friend of mine, Floyd Woodrow. I first came across Floyd when I was writing a book about world-class teams and world-class leaders. Floyd's a former SAS major, and I really wanted to know what differentiates great teams. Obviously, SAS units are. And there was a phrase, Floyd, that you used, which really stuck with me. You described SAS units not as the most courageous or highly trained or anything like that, but the most entrepreneurial organizations you'd ever worked in. Can you tell us a bit more about how that works and how you enable that within a team?
Yes, Simon, I can. And I remember the phrase, and it's always been something that I've remarked about SAS soldiers right from our early conception as a unit. It was about giving people freedom of movement, the ability to, one, know how to lead themselves. So every single individual in the Special Air Service is a leader in their own right. But what they also know is they know when to follow. So we have that collaborative team approach as well. And of course, although we have a really democratic way of discussing things, it is not about democracy or consensus. The overall leader will make a decision. However, within that, what we're looking for is creativity and opportunity. We always work on a set group of standards, so we have basic skills done exceptionally well. And I think you'll also remember saying to you, for me, advanced training is just basic things done well. But once you've got those basic things in place, again, that courage, the skill set, what we're looking for is innovation and creativity. And we really empower our soldiers to look for opportunities, because sometimes we're in difficult situations where we're not supported, we're by ourselves, we're in this kind of adversity that, you know, we're going through at the moment. We don't have any support and things can be quite traumatic or chaotic. Therefore, it's our job to go in and seek the opportunity to make something of this situation. And so, because it's instilled at such an early age, and more importantly, when somebody, no matter what rank they are, says something that's really beneficial, articulate, and can change something, it's followed. You're given that support in order to pursue whatever you've said, which, as I said, I think it just promotes that ability to be the best that you can be as an individual, team, or organization. Indeed, It's interesting, the brand, what happens then because of that, the brand of entrepreneurialism comes in. And I was talking to a very good friend of mine called Will Scully yesterday, who was involved in a siege in Sierra Leone. And what he said was, when he went in there and he was introduced as somebody from the SAS, he automatically felt he had to come up with the solutions. They were surrounded. He had to basically fight for 7 hours. And even though he thought, I could get myself out of this situation, because of his entrepreneurial way of finding opportunities and keeping this group safe, he stayed with them and was ultimately successful in making sure they were all repatriated safe and sound.
There's the part of the understanding that you shared with me that, again, has really, really stuck. You said behind enemy lines, you genuinely don't know what's going to happen in 5 seconds' time, because you can't. I mean, even with great reconnaissance and intelligence, you still don't really know. And you said, as a leader, you don't know whether you've got the answer, but you're pretty sure we have. And that must give you, as a team, a real sense of confidence walking into very uncertain, very volatile situations.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I have no doubt that somebody within the team will have an answer to this particular problem. And hopefully, because of the training that we've gone through, and again, I think that's really important, the training that we go through is so significant that we've practiced nearly every possible conceivable contingency. And then when something's completely out of the norm, I still have quite a lot of depth of training and, again, abilities to work the situation out. But of course, because we're very collaborative, all I'll do is go, look, I just think this, and somebody will enhance that, and then we build on it. Obviously, each time somebody comes up with a better idea, we build on it, and we build, and eventually you get to a point where you go, that's the answer. That is the answer to this particular problem. And I can honestly say, in any situation I've ever been in, Simon, and I've been in some difficult situations, I never thought we wouldn't do well. I can honestly say, I don't ever think I thought, we will have no idea of how to do this. Somebody will come up with something. It's just, as I said, you're right. It's a great confidence builder.
Yeah. And knowing your people, I guess, is critical in order to get the best from them, in order to know the not only the skills, but the personalities, the attributes, the problem-solving capabilities that you've got locked up within that team.
And just to add to that too, obviously when I was thinking about this, it's like a business. You need diverse personalities. So that means you have introverts, extroverts, people who like to analyze data, and then people who rely on instincts. Now, I'm sort of a person that relies on instincts. Which one of those is more important as well? Is, you know, when you're in that situation where you have whatever decision you make could have, you know, incredible, you know, you know, could have an incredible effect on what you do next. You know, what's more important? Is it more important that people come together as a team with their diverse personalities and there's a leader, or that people move around in it?
All right, really great question. So both great questions. So first of all, you have to know your team. And this is really important in today's, that's super strength. So I always talk about knowing, I want to know what everybody's good at, first of all. I don't want to know all the weaknesses that we have, because those are things we can look at, but I'm not too fussed by that. All our super strengths encompass these things. And it's rare we turn to each other in turn and say, you are wonderful at this, you do this, because that's what motivates us. Then it's about trust. Now, trust is not about like, it's about respect. So there were people in my teams, and there have been lots of people both ways, I'm sure, when people have looked at me, we might not like each other socially, or we're part of a social group, but we respect each other because we've been selected. I think that's quite important, is that everybody has been selected. So we've got common ground, an understanding of what we should be doing. And then there's different capabilities within that. We have passionate debate. So you realize you do have a voice, you're respected, you're going to be listened to, but a leader will make a decision. It's not about, you know, again, democracy is not going to come into this. And then it's about commitment and accountability. So support and challenge. Now within it, although I would always say I'm quite intuitive, so I can look at things and probably guess the answer. But what I've learned is I do need to be more strategic. So my weaker end would be strategy. So I work harder at strategy in some respects, because I know I can think through the answer pretty quickly. Now, in danger, you need to be instinctive. I don't have time to sit, think, and discuss this anymore, or come up with lots of plans. I need to make a decision. Now, instinct is not based on something I've just plucked out of the sky. Instinct comes from all the training, all the preparation, everything I've done before, which means I can trust myself. As Simon will talk about flow, it's flow. There's been times when somebody said, why did you do that? And I've gone, I have no idea, but I knew it was the right thing to do. Because you're at that moment where all your training comes together, all the thoughts, everything, you just go, that moment in time, I don't have to think anymore. That's it. Now, when I've got a downtime, so in a battle, there'll always be downtime. What I might then do is go, I need to rethink this. Then I'll be more strategic. Then I'll go through my plans. Yeah, got all those things in place. Communicate the plan so that we're clear, we're all going to work together, happy, and then we go back into flow. So I might come in and out of it, but flow is where I don't think anymore. I'm just going to make the decision. Does that help?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I think especially at the moment, because, you know, organizations, as an organization, you have to continue to reinvent yourself, not just in times of crisis, but it's much harder. And I think that's what you're saying there. It's much harder in times of crisis to have time to plan and create a strategy for it. You just have to get through it to a certain extent, and then afterwards step back and look at how you rebuild. So I think that's
yeah, and I think in this case it's and because you get loads of information, Helen, sometimes we're getting loads of advice, aren't we? We get loads of scientists, and every country's got a different scientist saying a different thing. So if I'm a leader, I definitely want advice. I definitely want somebody to give me some scientific advice about what this might look like. When I've got 10 people telling me different things, I have now got to make the decision. And that's the same when, again, Simon and I have been welded sports teams. I've listened to a head coach sometimes be swayed by a physio or a doctor, and I'm going to go, actually, well, no, they're giving you advice. So yes, that player's 90%, but we're all 90%. So if this was a World Cup final, would that player be sitting out? Probably not, because at 90%, I would say by the time you get to a World Cup final, everybody's 90%. He's giving you advice from which you make a decision, and say the same to politicians. Don't just take scientific advice as being, that's it, because there's no such thing as the perfect advice. So therefore, once I've got everything that I need to take into account, as the leader, I make the final decision, and that's why I'm accountable. So when I get any leader that says I'm not accountable, it was scientific advice, I would dismiss the leader. So for me, I just don't believe that. What I want is, give me all the advice. Now I've got it. This is my job now, my responsibility. This is what I think, and then you'll be held to account. Now, quite rightly, if anybody can tell me the right answer to what's happening now, you are a genius, because there isn't a right answer until we get to the other end. Then we'll look at it and go, oh, now we know the right answer. If it happens again, we should do this. And nobody should be held to account from that unless it's incompetency, unless you're doing something where actually, even though it's a difficult situation, that was the wrong decision. That's a different thing, isn't it? That's a different way of looking at it, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, right now you've got these sorts of challenges on a daily basis because you've got businesses. I mean, I know you're working with client organizations, but you've also got your own businesses. So how does this impact on you as a leader in business now? I mean, how do you use and apply this in a business context?
Exactly the same way. I come to what's our super North Star. So, I always talk about having a compass, Simon. I want to know, what are we trying to do in this environment to make sure we're still coming out of it, doing what we wanted to do when we came in. Now, there's a number of obstacles now. So the roadmap, as I would terminology, my map has slightly changed. There's obstacles, there's a different route to take. However, my super North Star has not changed. I've had to furlough some people, but I've got a main core of team still on point. But I'm still talking to the people on furlough. I still ring them up and talk about what they're doing, how everything's going, what's happening, giving them an update on what we're doing as a company. And then my core team stick on the point. What are we trying to do to deliver with our retail apps and our all the other security elements that I'm dealing with? And of course, I'm working with children, and so I'm doing parent videos and leadership stuff as well. So all of those things, I can still do that. And again, strategy. So again, logic, analysis, facts, figures, detail, what is actually happening. No emotion, but wisdom, common sense, and judgment. Got to make sure you stick to values, because it's easy to turn and think, actually, those values that we have when it's really good, do they apply now? Yes, they do. There's no change. Otherwise, you have the wrong values in the first place, and team, but also resilience. So I talk about, we need to realize that we're only at the start of this. And I mean this in the best way in the world. We're at the start of something. We've not been in adversity for 6 years, have we? It's been a couple of months. So therefore, just realize that these things do change as you go further down the line. So you need physical and mental resilience. And that's about sensitivity and empathy. And I know Helen was going to ask me a question on empathy. So I'll just sort of come into that now, if I may. That's where you've got to take into account different people see this situation in a different way. So what I've got to do is I've got to realize that I might be okay, and it's great. You can say I'm in a garden, so this place is not so bad for me. But actually, there's some people who are not in that same situation. So how do I help them also get through this, again, with different strategies? That physical side, which is about well-being, diet, hydration, and sleep, things like that. And of course, mental resilience, which is strategies. You can't be mentally resilient because you say, let's be tough. What am I doing to think through the strategies that I need so that I can talk to myself, positive anchors, make sure I've got things that I can use to visualize where I want to be, all the things you and I both know athletes do and the best people do, because it makes you feel better, makes you feel more confident, and therefore you can deal with situations in a much more adept way.
Yeah, and I think Simon and I have been talking about this a lot, is, this opportunity to learn new skills. If you don't come out of this with a new skill, then it's not that you hadn't got time, it's just that you didn't want to, So I think this is a time to push the boundaries, of our potential and learn new things. But of course, yes, I was going to say to you that empathy is critical. I read in your book, empathy is critical to effective leadership. And some people mightn't have the time. It's okay if you have the time to be looking beyond finding something new and a new challenge. But you have to understand that not everybody, some people are furloughed, but they're homeschooling and they're doing other things that are very important in their lives, but I think, to stay ahead of our competition, to find new ways of doing business, which we know we have to, and to rebuild our businesses, you do have to be looking around and learning a new way of doing it. And I think there is a balance. And so, I'm pleased to hear you say that you're kind of keeping in touch with people who are furloughed and keeping your team kind of active and looking, because I think that's important, actually. That's hugely important that you understand that and do it. It's easy to lose touch with people, I think.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. An opportunity. I don't see why you would not see this as an opportunity. I don't mean this in that kind of, it's always an opportunity in adversity. What I'm saying is it's exactly the same as you. It's we should be doing this throughout our entire lives. We should be looking at a way of growing, because I think life's just an adventure. So I always talk about this. I say, look, life's just an adventure. I've done 5 different jobs already in my life. I expect to do another couple of jobs because I just want to learn lots of new things. And now is a massive opportunity to redefine what's important to you. I mean, that time where people can spend time with their children, they do some homeschooling, they get a chance to potentially learn a new skill, to be a better cook, to play the piano, to do things where they can do a language. What a massive opportunity, which we would cry out for time normally, saying, I haven't got the time. Well, now you do have the time. I don't care who you are. You have time during the day to do something, to get fitter. And that is about then the discipline. So resilience comes back into play. Why are you not doing that? What's the magnet that's holding you back? And I talk about a magnet sometimes taking your compass off track. It would be a magnet now. So what I've been trying to do is do things online and make sure things are changed in a slightly different way to be, again, much more effective in the way that I'm doing things. So I think that's really, really important to do those things. To grow, I think that's the key thing, is to learn how to grow. And that's about having a growth mindset. And kids will come home and say, yeah, I've been talking about having a growth mindset. So I always say to people, why would you not have a growth mindset? I've got a great video which I use every now and again, which is a question where people get asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And of course, it then switches to lots of older people who say, oh, actually, what do you mean? Well, surely we've not finished growing. I mean, through our lives, surely you still want to have an adventure on this journey to just experience life. Well, now, because you've had a chance to step back, what a massive opportunity to look at from 2 perspectives. Professionally, actually, am I doing the right job? Is it what I want to do in life? That's a pretty good challenge. And also, what's the legacy I want to leave behind? Because legacy is a powerful word. But also personally, what can I do just to think, what an adventure I've got now to do something different? I just think I would maximize this time, because you might never find you've got that kind of space. Hopefully you will manage space better when we go forward, and time will be better managed. But my worry will be is that if it's just a short time that we're in adversity, within 6 months to a year, we'll go back to type. So I think people really need to set some ground rules and baselines in place now. Otherwise, I'm sorry, but I know I hear people saying it's a new world, it'll all change. Not if there aren't some pretty solid foundations in place.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Floyd, thank you very, very much for joining us today. I mean, I agree with you. I think this is a massive, massive opportunity for people to grow and develop, because you grow, develop and shape your character when you're faced with challenges. And the challenges are here at the moment. And I think, like you say, it's a massive opportunity to develop as a human being, as a leader, and help our teams to develop. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Helen, thank you too. Guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on another episode of Pep Talks. Take care.